Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miles Phillips. I'm acting as the Wildlife in Focus Photo Contest Director, and I'm on the board as the Vice President. Today, we're going to give a brief overview of Wildlife in Focus. We're going to give a review of the basics of the contest, and we're going to have a chance for you to ask some questions via chat and have a process for asking questions later on. Right now, you should hopefully be seeing the web screen that's showing the Wildlife in Focus website. And I am going to use that kind of as prompts to lead the conversation here and point out features on the website. And I will recommend to everyone that you spend some time in looking at what's here on the website, the resources and things you can share. So first of all, as a thank you for participating, we're very excited. The great participation this year. We'll be publishing the final numbers of participants soon, but we're approximately 63 teams, something like that. And it's a team being a photographer and a landowner, or a pair of photographers and a landowner, which means that in total there's somewhere around 86 photographers as individuals, and so we're really excited. As a background, we have to share with not everyone. We have quite a few new people in this year's event. Some people who did it long ago and are coming back, and then some people have been with us. I think we have at least one person that actually has been doing these type of contests since before Wildlife in Focus did it with the Valley Lawn Fund. So maybe 30 or more years. But for Wildlife in Focus, in the Coastal Bend, started a contest in 2001, was done every other year. So this would be our 13th event. This is the first time it's been offered statewide. And the rules, if you've done it in the past, there have been some updates and modifications to the rules, in part to respond to the statewide nature of the contest, and also after a lot of input with various photographers over the years, and this year some tweaks to try to make it as optimal as possible. Background, it's a nonprofit 501c3, that is Wildlife in Focus is, run by a board of volunteers who I'll introduce later. We have one half-time staff person, which is the phenomenal Christy Morales, who's on today and helped set this up. She's been with us now, I think, about 7 months, and has really helped us be organized. And so with that, I want to briefly review some of our programs. If you don't know, besides the photo contest, which is really it's our kind of signature event, and used to raise awareness. It's used to raise funding for our educational events, but that's not all that we do. One of the primary motivators is education of youth in wildlife and habitat, as well as awareness and inspiration for the general public and adults in supporting wildlife conservation and recognizing private land stewards. But in the youth education, we have developed a program called Critters for Kids that is a formalized curriculum that is used in K through 12, particularly K through 8. It's provided to the schools generally free of charge through the generous sponsorships of various organizations, and it complies with Texas education standards. Now, in addition to that, of course, we have our wildlife photo contest. And out of the contest are books of winning photos, and those are used to help with the education program and to help promote our event and to share what we're doing. Some of you from the past know the last two contests, due to financial concerns, the books were not published, but we are working on that. We are going to find a way to get those past two contests done in some format. And we are planning to publish the results of this year's contest. So just know it's ongoing, but it's a big project, especially to try to do 3. The other thing we do is in exhibits of winning photos. We do this generally. We'll have a place that for 2 months, and businesses or organizations can sponsor and then have these displays set up at their location. We also provide them at times for public facilities, like they were at Aransas National Wildlife Refuge, and will be in the Valley, we believe, in the Edinburgh Wetland Center in the spring. Right now, we have at the Nave Museum in Victoria until the 1st of March. This really helps people raise awareness. So with that in mind, or with that covered, I'm going to jump into some basics of the contest. And what I want to go over here is just the main thing is to really have a good time when you're out there. This is a truly amazing event. I personally was involved as a photographer since 2007, and just last year, well, technically at the end of 2023, was asked to join the board and been super excited to do that because of this event. It's just, there's nothing like it. And with that, our real goal is to help build relationships, and that's both photographers and landowners. So we just encourage communication between your teammates. You know, if you're the photographer with the landowner and vice versa, it can really help you do better in the contest, but more importantly, can help us all build strong relationships and share our passion for wildlife and the land. As photographers, I'll go over these 7 points, the summary of the rules, but the main points are that you'll be working to submit a portfolio of up to 100 images submitted across up to 50 different categories with a max of 3 photos per category. As a statewide event, those categories are set up. It's really, I don't think it's possible to be able to get all 50. But to submit 100 photos, you'll have to get 34. So you really have to work at diversity. But you're not required to submit 100. You submit, you can, but generally you can. You'll also ask to submit to the landowner the JPEG copy of your portfolio so they can have that for their own personal viewing and as a benefit of participation and sharing their own wildlife. Key points for photographers: make sure you set your cameras appropriately beforehand. Now you want to make sure they're set to the proper time zone and time, and that the color setting is correct. It's in the road with the basics for cameras that you have to have a camera that can shoot at least a 12 megapixel raw file image. And these days that includes even some things like iPhones. But obviously that's probably not what you're using, but it's possible. A couple other notes. We're going to ask that while you're in the middle of the contest, both landowner and photographers, feel free, or we request that you'll post like updates of what's happening, your experiences on Facebook, and tag Wildlife in Focus and keep attention. I think the stories of what goes on is really interesting, and again, that's part of what we're trying to do, is share the experience of being out there and doing wildlife photography. Of course, be respectful of what you're posting. Okay, so here on the screen, you should be seeing the rules overview. For both landowners and photographers, you're both automatically entered into the photo contest and the video contest by factor of entering the photo contest. The combined prize money is $40,000. It's $37,600 for the photos and $2,400 for the videos. The videos, you can submit 2 videos, 1 to 2 minutes long each, in 3 categories. And the really special part there is that one of the categories can be interviews of either yourself or another photographer or the landowner telling the story of their involvement in this contest and in land stewardship and wildlife. We're really looking at things to help share the story. Since you've already entered, we won't go over that, but it was open to any landowner in Texas of any size. And photographers could be a two-person partnership. Video contest. The video contest is you have to shoot 4K and $100 to enter. And the key thing there is, in addition to yourselves, it's still open. Registration for the video contest only is going to be open for a couple more months, because the idea is for others that want to shoot only video, they can do so on lands that are registered in the contest and that are open to that being welcoming them. So it's not an automatic. A landowner is fully in control of whether access is given to other individuals to do that. All photos must be taken during the dates of the contest, February 21 to February 31, and on your designated partners team. And you have received or will receive an email giving you a team ID, and the rules will update when you submit your photos. They'll be named with a specific ID code and code per category, so that they are anonymous to the photographer and the landowner. That way, no one knows who or where they were taken in terms of the judging. Another important point is that to keep everything fair, we ask that no one post publicly any of your image you've submitted or plan to submit, or share those at all until after the award ceremony has been done, which the dates are not set. It's normally in the early fall, and we're looking at a San Antonio location at the moment. And then in general, the mode of this contest is that the images are meant to be of the wildlife as it's seen through the camera. And so only like the general, what they call global adjustments, editing are permitted. There are one or two categories where there are exceptions to that. So you can look for those if you want to do more of the creative side. Okay. With that, I wanted to introduce board members of Wildlife in Focus, just by name, not going to go have them all get on right now, but really, really have a great group of folks. So first, Christy Morales, our office administrator. She's on today, and as I said earlier, and our president, Claire Vaughn. We really couldn't have done this without Claire. She's been amazing and really, really has been working to grow the contest and the organization. Myself, Miles Phillips, our new board member and now treasurer, David Veltri, comes from the World Finance. Our secretary, Shelby Miller, and very good with our Facebook. And I'm just going to name it: Sissy Beasley, Gus Cargile, longtime board member, John Carter, Daryl Cochran, Dr. Sandy Hurwitz, Bruce Hoffman, one of our other very longtime board members and supporters. It's actually, this is an area, it's Mr. Billy Jones Miller, so Billy Miller, Lauren Parker, and Bill Weekly. So those are our board members. We also have others, either from the past or kind of that provide input and advice because they really like the organization. Mr. John Martin, who probably can be credited with starting this whole concept back in the 90s. Mr. Walton Cood, a photographer who's done an amazing amount of work helping us archive and organize all the digital records over the many years, and not just the photographs, but all sorts of other files. Michelle Orcutt, our immediate past president. Tom Langscheid with the Cesar Claver Wildlife Institute, Gail Hoffman, Dr. Patricia Alvarez, Kevin Avery, and David Sykes. So big thanks to all of them and the many others that we haven't named here. The other thing that's probably important to you is how these are going to be judged. We are going to share some basic guidelines of how the judges are going to review, but they're going to be reviewed for technical merit, aesthetic quality, and uniqueness. And uniqueness could be the fact that it's an animal not often photographed, or it's a creative style, or something like that. But there's no one set preference for what someone may call a studio style shot or a natural habitat style shot. It's really the overall quality that's going to be judged. Now, the judges, I'm going to bring them up here. Very honored to have the judges that we do. And you should know all of these professional photographers and filmmakers are doing this as volunteer. So want to say first, we have Stephen Freely, owner of one of the premier wildlife photography magazines called Nature's Best. So very honored to have him as our judging panel. Mr. Jeff Parker, a professional photographer from Texas, who actually grew into professional photography through the contest. Now I think is based in New Mexico, leads trips all over the world. And Mr. Earl Nottingham, the longtime photographer for Texan Parks and Wildlife Department. Also, Mr. Bill Gazansky, Jesse Dolan, Laszlo Potocki out of Romania, Jesse Dolan's out of Oregon, Bill's out of North Carolina, Florida, and wherever he happens to be doing photography. And Mr. Lance Kruger, very well-known deer and wildlife photographer. All these folks have volunteered to help as needed. We are going to have a lot of photos, it seems. If we have 60-some teams, that's 6,300, 400 photos plus videos. Now, separately from the, nope, I stopped too early. From the photo contest, we have a separate panel of video contest judges. Very honored with this. This is, we've got Mr. Ben Masters, who many of you may know, owns Fin and Fur Films, and has done a number of films that have been launched at all different places like Netflix, but in Texas, Deep in the Heart with Matthew McConaughey and others. One of his co-workers, Austin Alvarado, and Mr. Ramon Villarreal, owner of Lumen Bright in Austin, Texas, which is a company that provides specialized training in many, if not all, of the Adobe software products. Again, much thanks to all of them, all volunteers. Okay, with that, unless I'm forgetting something, I'd like to allow anyone with questions to go ahead and, I guess we'll try the chat. Just type a question into the chat if you have it. Unless Chris, yeah, I think that's probably the best way, because if we all start talking, it won't work. Does anyone have any questions that they want to share right now? I'm not seeing anything pop up immediately, but we do have a system set up. We're going to ask, okay. I did see a question come up, and oh, with that in mind, I forgot. Sorry, Brian. We have a rules committee chair, someone who's, again, an incredible expert and volunteering to help us out on the board, of Mr. Brian Laughlin. And I can bring up his information here. He's a longtime photographer, instructor. He currently teaches the wildlife photography program at Texas A&M Kingsville, among many other things. And he's the one that will help us determine any interpretation of the rules. And so I wanted to introduce him. He's online, but we don't have a way to turn him on right now. So I do see two questions come up. One, can we use Nikon pre-release capture as it only does it in JPEG? Well, in that case, We'll follow up on these questions, and we'll post the Q&A in a section on our website. But we do have to have the raw image in the format that we have now. So in that case, I do not believe that that would be something that could be submitted, an image that was only JPEG. I have Martin. What is the time frame after the 100 days for submitting images? Good question. So that this images need to be submitted in June. You have the full month to submit them, but we do recommend you kind of are thinking about that as you go through the contest. But generally, it does take some time to make decisions on what you want to do and get them ready. So yeah, you have the full month of June to submit them. They must be submitted in June. And then they will be judged in July. And notifications, the way it's been done in our plan is if you have an image that wins a place in a category, one of the top 5 places, you'll be notified by email that you have placed at least one image. So even if you have 10 or 20, the letter will say you've been awarded at least one award. And so the rest of what's been awarded and what places, that is announced at the actual awards ceremony. Okay, we have another question. Are there any cropping limits? There's no specific like cropping instructions like some of the that were in the past, but there are limits. Yes, there's a size, there's a minimum size of the photo to retain quality, and the aspect ratio of cropping has to be one of, I think it's, I'd have to look exactly, but I think 6 or 7 different standards. It can be horizontal or vertical, but one of those 7 standard aspect ratios. Do all images need to be submitted at once? Yes, you'll submit your entire portfolio, and that includes the raw image version, the TIFF image that you've processed and got ready, and the JPEG image. So basically 300 files, and that it's the JPEGs that will be judged. The raw images are submitted so that if there's any questions about what's been done, the judges can examine the original versus the JPEG. And I think, yeah, we're going to use an online system this time. We're planning to contract with ASMP NAMPA, North American Nature Photography Association, in their use of a software program called AwardsForce, which is used for major photography contests because our judges will be remote. So there will be a system that will allow you to upload your photos into the judging system, platform system. Okay, that's the last question I see right now. And as we get more information or need to update you on something, just keep an eye out for your email as you provide it to us. We are going to be listing updates as they come along, but really, once the contest starts, it's off and running. And we wish you all very good luck and a tremendous experience. Oh, we got a few more follow-up questions here. Following on the cropping sessions, what is the minimum size? Is it the same as the minimum camera size? The details of that are done in terms of pixel measurements, and they're in the rules. So there is a detailed description of that. And I don't want to say it off the top of my head because I might get something a little off. But yeah, there is a limit. Okay. Here's another one. Can we use a denoise app? This is a good question, and there may be potentially with, as you know, with all these specialized software that helps with photography management and editing, and now AI, it's sometimes the lines get blurry, but the idea is, yes, you can do denoising, and there's a little bit of sharpening you can do on the JPEG. However, everything is subject to overdoing, so be careful there and look to what is described in the rules. If it comes down to it being still unclear, please send us an email. Well, Christy or Brian, am I forgetting anything we really need to go over? Because we could talk a little bit about some recommendations for planning out your experience. So if there's no more immediate questions, I want to share just a few suggestions we've had from participants in the past. The species list. Okay. I believe there's a question on the species list. So a couple of things you might really like to know. Our intention with this is to help showcase diversity of wildlife, both plants and animals, and on working lands or ranches, private lands. And just this year, we have gone back over the winning photographs for all the past contests and created our first attempt at a master list of all the different species that have been featured in our winning photographs. And that is up on the website. Let's see here. So if you go species, there's a table. You're seeing this here. And it's quite impressive. As you will see, there has been a lot of diversity captured on photographs. And I think we're up to, yes, 607 different species of animals and plants. And we have not had the resource to go over the thousands of images that were submitted, but not award winners. And over time, that might be something we can do. The other thing is you can see what's won in the past and look at that list and see, what may be present in your habitat. We've got a suggestion from Brian, I think you all can see, but I will add to that in that one of the things that can be helpful is to make a plan as best you can ahead of time on which species to get during what time during the contest, or what time of day, what locations. Of course, it's wildlife, it's weather, it's everything. It's not predictable, but it can help you focus your efforts on whether to work on seed-eating birds in early or late, or insectivores or mammals, insects, your scenery shots, those kind of things. If you make a flexible plan, that can really help you maximize your time on site, especially for those of us who really have very limited time on site, where we can go down just for long weekends, or maybe make a single, long week or 10-day trip. If you can get there much more often, you obviously have more opportunity. But make a plan based on the categories, which ones you think you have the best chance of getting, and make sure, because there's a lot of diversity required here, that you're thinking about filling as many categories as you need to reach your objectives. Thanks for those comments, Brian. All right. Well, I think that's what we wanted to do. Welcome everyone here today, and let you know that we're very excited for the beginning of this. You can send inquiries to info@wildlifeinfocus, and if they're specific to the rules, we're going to have to test it, because we just set it up today, but we set a specific email, which is rules@wildlifeinfocus.org. And so if you'll try that, once the contest starts, that helps us track everything and allows us to put up kind of answers to questions that people ask, because it's very common that if you have that question, somebody else probably has it. And if you know other photographers and landowners that have participated in the past or just are good at managing their photos, it's, ask around. A lot of people are very willing to provide answers or advice. Okay. Yeah, the other thing with email is it helps us get the question right. So with that, I want to thank everyone and go out and capture that wildlife. Thank you very much. We're going to close it down. All right, as we close down, for those of you listening, we did record this. We will be trying to do a basic edit, and ideally within about a week, we should have that up on our website through our YouTube channel. Thanks again.